Hey everybody, welcome back. And today we're still going to be continuing to apply our Gestalt principles in our work. We're still learning about how to form groups within our visual fields, within our presentations. And once again, these little videos are for everybody, whether you're a student and just starting out or you're a CEO of a company. These are basic principles that everybody should know. All right, so today we're going to be talking about color. Yay! This is actually one of my very favorite topics. I mean, who doesn't like colors? So first we're going to be talking about what never ever to do with colors. We'll give you 3 best practices around that, and then we're going to be talking about things that you should always try to do with color. So let's go. So here we are. Okay, so the first never ever do with color is never ever use clashing color combinations such as blue on red or red on blue. Why? Because they tend to buzz. They make your eyes buzz. It's very painful to look at. So any of these combinations don't really work. But why is that? Let's take a look. Okay, so here I am on the free Adobe Color Contrast Ratio Analyzer tool. There's a lot of these color contrast ratio analyzer tools online. I can leave a couple of links in the description of the video below. But what you want to do here is you want to either put in the hex code of your colors, and here you can see what the contrast ratio is, and if it is applicable to, you can set the standards of accessibility that you are looking to meet. Generally, AA is sufficient. So over here, let's say I want to pick a red, and we already know that red on blue or blue on red is not going to meet that color contrast ratio. Makes everything, the higher the contrast ratio, the easier things are to read. So let's see something that might actually work. So over here, if it's above 4 or 4.5, then it's going to meet that criteria. So let's just do regular, like a regular white on a black, right? That's going to be a really high contrast ratio, and vice versa. So you can use these tools to see if your color combinations are going to clash. Another one that really doesn't work well is, say, like a pink on like a dark blue or like a purple, and you can see that it gets more and more difficult to read. See, right there, so it's not going to meet that criteria. The second never ever do is never use color gradients within text or shape elements, unless you know what you're doing, right? So all of these rules apply to everybody, except if you know what you're doing and how and why to use it with intention and actual skill. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. So gradients make text on text difficult to read sometimes, but not always, right? So just as a general rule, you just want to stay away from gradients because when they're done incorrectly, it looks ugly. It does not look nice. And you want to make sure that your presentations and the story that you're telling, they all lend credence to that professional skill that you offer and that you bring to the table. And this does not represent that. Okay, so these are examples of gradients done nicely. So they're using some stark background colors, and the level of gradient and the ratios are well defined and intentional, right? So unless you know what you're doing with gradients, don't use them. Okay, and so the third never ever do for color is never use more than 5 colors in the same design. Again, unless you know what you're doing, right? Because too many colors makes everything important, so nothing is important. Once again, you can see that the groups are very visually delineated. That's great, but because they use so many colors on so many other colors, it's hard to tell what's important and which data is saying what. You can't really identify what's important versus what's not. It's just a little too much to process all in the same picture. And this next one, I see this a lot in smart art. So the background, I've never seen it, and it's been a while since I've seen people use these color gradient backgrounds, maybe in the 90s, but maybe not now. The point is that if you use too many colors within your slide, you're not going to be able to keep track of what's important. Unless you're using those colors to identify a specific group, it's not worth it. So smart art uses varying and clashing colors often, and I have my opinions about smart art. So generally, my opinion is don't use it. Don't use smart art. So here's an example of smart art. What I do use smart art for is for ideas of just how to lay things out, right? And if I have a good idea of whether I want to use a process or a relationship or a pyramid or whatever, I'll just use it for the idea. Then I'll go to a place like Canva or slideshare.com where you can have great examples of people that have done this nicely as opposed to using the smart art. Because smart art, it hasn't been updated since the 90s, all right? So let's just stay away. It's got these not really helpful gradients, and you can't really control where the text placement is inside the shape. So let's say you have a lot of text, it's going to make it very small, and it's usually center aligned as opposed to top aligned on the left align. So smart art is good for some things like inspiration, but please don't use it because I'm going to teach you how to not have to use it. Okay? Great. And that kind of covers our never ever do's for color. That's it. Thanks for watching.